All right, guys. Hello. Welcome to our Team Race2Serve call. This is Karen, and tonight we are talking about how there is a reason for every season. Guys, I am so fired up about this topic because recently we had a woman speaker come talk to us at church, and she was talking about this subject, and I felt like the entire time this concept kept coming back in relevance to coaching specifically, and how we are going to go through different seasons and different fields of coaching, and you can't skip one. You can't try to kind of like speed one up to get to the next. And so what we're going to be talking about tonight is fields and crops and harvest. And you guys know that by now I use this analogy all the time, but we're going to take it even deeper tonight. And if you think about seasons, they don't happen simultaneously. You have to get through summer before you can get to the fall. You have to get through fall before you get to winter. I mean, unless you're in New England, usually they don't happen at the same time. And so for the most part, you have one season and then you roll into the next season. They can't happen simultaneously. And so I have a PowerPoint that I made for you guys tonight because I really wanted you to see this. I want you to take notes, and this is recorded. It's going to be on our team website to refer back to, because I can tell you right now, I know I'm going to need this video a lot to remind me that every season I'm in as a coach is necessary for my growth, and it's necessary to build my character, and it's necessary to make sure that I'm grounded in all the right places. So I'm going to start sharing my screen now. And we're just going to dig right in. So the first thing I wanted to bring our attention to is tending your own field. We talk about this a lot, that as coaches, it's easy to get caught up looking at other people's fields, looking at other people's crops and harvests, and being like, well, when is it going to be my turn? Why are they diamond? Why do they have such a blooming team? Why is it easy for them to get people in their challenge groups? And it's easy to kind of focus our eyes on what everybody else is doing, thinking that the grass is always greener on the other side. But I really love that quote, that we can bloom where we are planted. And no matter where you are planted, you have the opportunity to bloom and to grow and to thrive. It's just a big mindset change to be willing to roll with the punches rather than constantly wishing you were somewhere else. Because the truth is, when you're wishing you're somewhere else, you're not living in the moment, which is then influencing your future. You guys hearing me? So if you live in the future, you're no longer living in the present, and your present is what's going to influence your future. So you're going to miss things. And so stop focusing on what other people are doing and trust that you are where you are for a specific reason, and there's a plan for where you are. So tend your own field, pay attention to your own field. All right, you can thrive in the storm. There are so many storms in this business. I'm 2 years in almost, and man, I hit storms all the time, and I'm kind of in this place where I just expect them to come. I expect storms to come. I expect coaches to quit. I expect clients to maybe sometimes return things. I never go in thinking that everything is going to always be 100% perfect all the time. And the mentality I've kind of grown as a coach is, if my rank goes down, or it's just all right, I'll get it back with the right people. There's a reason for every season I'm in. And here's the beautiful part. The way that you can get through a storm is to remember that we're here to change lives. We're not here selling a quick fix. We're not here trying to cheat people. We have been changed by this. And that's what you have to go back to, is your own journey and your own transformation that has happened through these programs, through Shakeology, through just this lifestyle change. When your life changes, you can't help but desire to help other people change their lives too. Every season is necessary. Now let's look at this from a farmer standpoint. Now I'm not a farmer guru by any means, but from what I understand, every season that a field goes through is absolutely necessary for it to reach a harvest. And we're going to talk about 4 specific seasons of a field. What's that called? There's a better word than field. Anyway, fallow, faithful, fearless, and then flourishing. Those are going to be the 4 things we talk about tonight. This is a quote by James Ryle that I absolutely love. Healthy things grow. Growing things change. Change challenges us. Challenge forces us to trust God. Trust leads to obedience. Obedience makes us healthy. Healthy things grow, and the cycle repeats over and over again. It's very cyclical. So if you are building a healthy business, it's going to grow. And growing things are going to change. The Facebook algorithm is going to change. Team dynamics might change. Products might change, right? Changes are going to be challenging, right? And the challenges are going to force you not only to trust God, but looking at this from also a coach perspective, challenges are going to force you to learn how to adapt and learn how to be willing to make adjustments to your business so that you can go with the flow. If you stay rigid with this business, you're going to burn out. You have to be willing to modify and change things. And then once you trust, it's going to lead to obedience. And I know for me, obedience is the number one thing. Going at God's pace, trusting him in my season, and just being faithful in the little everyday tasks. And then that makes you healthy, and then healthy things grow. And I've always loved that cyclical poem that James Raw wrote. I just think it's beautiful. So it's there for you to come back to. All right, let's just kick off with the fallow field. So what does fallow mean? This field is plowed, but it's left unsown. And so in order for it to restore its fertility as part of crop rotation, so you probably, if you drive around and you've got fields like this, you've seen this kind of field before. There's nothing in it. It's completely empty and on purpose. And here's the big thing to know about a fallow field, you guys. It's not lazy and it's not idle. It's resting. It's resting. So you may notice points in your business where you might need an actual rest. You might need to go back to the basics. You might need to go back to your own journey and not losing your own wellness journey. So sometimes if you look at your business field, it looks like nothing is happening. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're lazy, and it doesn't mean that you're idle. Maybe success points aren't coming in. Maybe coaches aren't signing up. It looks barren, but what's actually happening is that it's kind of setting the stage for things to come. It's a resting period. Maybe in this season, you're just kind of getting things set up. You're developing systems for when the harvest does come. Maybe you're just focusing on your own wellness journey and being proof the products works and sharing your story. But there's not a whole lot of growth coming on the outside, but there's a whole lot happening deep down. That's the fallow field. And I love this quote that rest produces far more than stress. If you run this business always stressed out, that's not going to produce anything. That's going to make you impulsive and resentful of the business. And that's never a place you want to be. So always know or be aware when you might be hitting a season in your business where it's like, I got to just step back for a second and I need to like revisit, reflect, revise, be willing to adapt, and kind of take a mini resting period. Resting does not mean you disappear off of the face of the earth and you stop completely working out and you stop taking care of yourself and you just that's not necessarily what rest means from a coach perspective. It just means that you're in a season of deep reflection of you and your coaching business and your vision and your mission. And that field is very important. Moving on to the faithful field. So this field, there we go. The faithful field, if you look at it again from a field perspective, there's tiny little plants. You see them, they're popping up. It's not a full out harvest at all yet, but they're there. You see them. The definition of faithful is devoted, consistent, responsible. There's that consistent word again. We're always going to bring it back. So again, faithful does not mean infallible. None of us are perfect. You're never going to be a perfect coach. You're never going to run this business perfectly. You're never not going to make mistakes. You know, I'm like the queen of making lots of different mistakes in my business. But again, you're faithful in doing the little things well. You do the daily things well. You're consistent with the vital behaviors. You keep showing up every day. Objections or not, challenge groups or not, whatever happens, you stay faithful. And though it's a small little plant that's coming up, you take care of it every day, you water it every day, you nurture it every day, you show up every day because you know that little tiny thing, if it's cared for well, it will grow. It will grow. And a farmer always lives in the vision of the harvest. He doesn't wake up every day expecting it to be full out. He knows that he has to stay faithful. And so this might be the field that you're in. I want you guys to relate to this in terms of what season of coaching do you find yourself in? Are you in the fallow season where you're just kind of in this resting, reflecting, revising period? Are you in the faithful field where it's like you see little things, you see a couple people signing up, You see a little bit of financial gain. You're seeing a little bit of the crop, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to stay consistent. I'm not going to necessarily be perfect, and my goal is not to be perfect, but I'm going to do the daily things well. And that is such an important field. It's such an important season of your life, because if you give up here, if you see that tiny little stuff and you're like, oh, that's great, but I might show up here and I might show up there, and you're an amateur, or you're a poser and you're not a professional in your business, those tiny things will die. But they're there, and they're an opportunity for you. Fearless field. Fearless means bold, brave, courageous, not intimidated. Fearless does not mean unafraid. Okay, fearless does not mean unafraid. It means that you're ready to face your fears. So now in this field, we see that things are definitely growing, but there are storms. And guys, storms exist in all the fields. Storms are going to exist in all the fields. No matter what season you are in your coaching business, there are always going to be storms. Always. They're going to come. But it's acknowledging what are your weaknesses and being strong enough to allow your faith to overcome your fear. Faith in your mission, faith in your business, faith in our products, faith in yourself, faith in the Lord if he's guiding you. And I love these two quotes right here. Feed your faith and your fear will starve. I love that. Feed your faith and your fear will starve. If you are only feeding your fears of being not a great coach or not a great inviter or not great with technology, if you're always feeding that fear, of course it's going to grow, and it's going to override all of your hopes. It's going to crush any effort that you might want to do. And so if you're feeding your faith, if you're constantly remembering your why, if you're constantly thinking back about all the people you are helping, because clearly if there's some crop there, there are people that are counting on you. There are people that you are serving. If you feed your faith, your fear will start. I also love this. Fear, I should have probably typed this better, but it's F-E-A-R, has two meanings. Either forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And I love that. You get to choose. You get to choose when the storms come in your business. Are you going to just be like, peace out, this is too much, I quit? Or are you going to say, you know what? That's the storm. And I'm going to use the storm, and I'm going to let it leverage me, and I'm going to rise above the storm. I'm going to rise above the storm. I love, if you guys have ever watched eagles, I'm a nerd, sometimes I like to watch the History Channel or like animals. And when a storm comes, the eagle doesn't actually try to work against the storm. They allow the storm to let them ride, like they go with the storm so it can help them go above the storm. So they rise above. That's kind of how birds usually ride out storms, that they let the storm get them above the storm. And so that's what I want for you. There are going to be hits in your business. There are going to be seasons where it's crickets and it's frustrating and there are more objections, seasons where coaches quit, seasons where challengers are not engaging. That's going to happen. Are you going to face it and rise, address it, conquer it, learn from it, or are you just going to run? So this field is so important because it's right before the flourishing field. This is kind of like, it's funny, when I was typing this up, I was thinking back to the last 2 years, and I was like, wow, it took me a while to get, like, the flourish comes in strides, but I'm definitely in a season where the flourish is definitely like, it's becoming more present with storms. Again, storms exist in all of them. But I was thinking back to the fallow. I definitely have been through that weird, like, reflect, revise. Not a whole lot is happening on the outside, but there's a whole lot happening within me as a coach. And then going into that faithful field where it's like, oh my gosh, I have clients. Oh my gosh, I have a tiny team. And like, there's like tiny little things. I'm like, okay, I have to show up every day, keep doing the same things every day. Then you hit like the storms, and it's like, maybe some people quit, or things are hard, or social media changes, or whatever. And it's in that field, the fearless field, that I think you get to really grow your character as a coach. I say this all the time from the book, Go for No. Yeses will build your business, but no's are going to build you. No's are going to build you. So you always want to go for no, because no builds your character, and they build the type of coach that you're going to be. Are you going to run every time there's an objection? Are you going to run every time there's a hard time? Because if so, of course you're going to fail in this business. You're going to peace out and drop out. It's too much. Your vision has to be so important to you. And with the farmer, the vision of that harvest is so big. He doesn't let like the storm scare him. He sees it. He's maybe afraid, but he's ready to face his fears and push past it. And then you hit the flourishing field. Definition is growing well, to thrive. It's the period of highest productivity. And that happens in your business. You're going to have incredible seasons of harvest and flourishing where you're like, wow, like your team is thriving and they're doing and they're growing. You have your challengers who are succeeding and their lives are changing and they're being influenced positively. Your business is financially also producing a harvest. Of course, like there's a financial part to this, you guys. I'm never one to be like that. Of course it happens. And you see that. Flourishing does not mean perfection. It doesn't mean your business is perfect. It doesn't mean that your business, again, is infallible, but it's fruitful. And that flourishing field cannot happen without your fallowness, your faithfulness, and your fearlessness. Every single stage of your crop, of your field, of your business is absolutely necessary. And I think too often we try to shorten every stage. We just want to skip, like, I just want to skip to the flourishing. I want to skip to the financial growth. I want to skip to my team. I want to skip to having a ton of clients. But you know what? If you get there too quickly and you don't develop your character and you don't develop systems and you don't develop discipline and the vital behaviors, you're going to grow quickly and you're going to burn out quickly. And so you need to be willing to go through each season of coaching and understand that, you know what, it repeats. So once you go through flourishing, you're probably going to end up in fallow after a season where it's not like things are dead. You know, it just means that, like, okay, you kind of have to regroup. Maybe there isn't a whole lot of like more teammates being added or more challengers being added. It's just kind of a season of you like catching your breath, resting, and saying, okay, what's my vision for this month? What's my vision for these next 90 days as a coach, as a leader? And kind of regrouping, stepping back, maybe having some time of prayer or time of reflection or journaling, and just mapping out the course that you want to take, mapping out your goals, mapping out your vision and your action steps. That's the fallow field. And then you go into the faithful and things start to grow little by little. So it's a very cyclical thing with this business. It's going to keep going. But the beautiful part is you can always be guaranteed a flourishing field. All of you. You will get one if you allow yourselves to go through every other stage and you are faithful in doing the daily things well. If you are faithful, the flourishing field will come. It will. I can say that with so much confidence. There's not one part of me that hesitates because I believe in faithfulness. I've seen it happen with people on our team. I've seen it happen in my life. And sometimes it will feel like what you're doing doesn't matter. It will feel like it's not significant. You're like, so I invited 2 people today, or so I connected with 1 new person today. It may not feel like a lot. Or maybe you're like, well, I shared my story on social media, or I hopped on live. You know what? People are always watching. There's going to come a time where that field is going to flourish. And so just stay faithful through all the other stages. Don't rush them. Let them have their time. And then be present in those times. Don't go idle. Don't go lazy. Don't go and peace out. Be completely present in every stage and get ready for that flourishing field to come. I have learned not just to live in the flourish, but to live in every moment of every stage, to be 100% present. Yeah, I'm always mindful of the harvest because I know it's coming, but I don't always live there. That's just anxiety, and that just gets me discouraged. So I live where I am, I stay faithful where I am, and I believe the flourishing field is coming. So that's a little bit about and that PowerPoint can be available to you if you want, but that's just when I see the coaching lifestyle and the coaching business and the coaching opportunity, that's how I see it laid out. It's seasons, and there's a reason for every season, and you can bloom where you're planted in every stage of that field, and you get to decide if you're going to. So what I would love to see you do is reflect a little bit and tell me, which of the 4 fields do you find your business in right now? That's my assignment for you. And then I want you to specifically talk to your upline coach when you have your answers. I hope you guys found some value in this subject, and just be willing to thrive in the season that you are in.